All right, sorry to make everybody wait. I actually stepped out and decided to go to dinner with my friend because I'm also trying to figure out how to get this on Twitter, and I think that I'm about to do that. So let's see if this works. I just hit create broadcast, and I believe that we will be live. I'm gonna tweet it out right now. I'm streaming on Twitter. There goes nothing. I think it's up there, guys. So we might have a few more people than last time watching. Yeah, think it's working. Cool. Awesome. As I technologically get through this, bear with me, but how's everybody doing? We had a day off of practice for the 49ers, but I was still at the facility as some of the assistant coaches were available today. And that's always one of the more insightful days of training camp. I think by NFL rule, the 49ers have to make assistant coaches on the offensive and defensive side of the ball available for 30 minutes each. You can kind of roam around, talk to some of the guys, and as you might expect, you get a lot of good insight. It's, podium sessions are one thing, and this is going to be a year of a lot of podium sessions because as of right now, the NFL is not reopening locker rooms to reporters. So a lot of those one-on-one conversations, the more organic interactions that we have, those aren't going to happen, at least for now. Everybody's moving to the podium. That's much more formal. It's better than Zoom, don't get me wrong, but it's still not quite what you would prefer to be able to get the best information and the best color and the best emotion out of the locker room. But with that being said, you really relish every non-podium opportunity that you get. So what they did today is they brought out the assistant coaches for the 49ers on both sides of the football and put them in the media tent outside, and we were able to talk to them and really just glean some information about where this team is. And, I could tell you right now, these are officially the dog days of August of training camp. It's August 9th. Tomorrow is going to be August 10th. So that means you're right in the heart of it, right in that spot where, you're not quite at that first preseason game yet, but you already have 10 training camp practices under your belt. It's been warm out there, probably not as bad as some of those teams that have to be out in the Midwest or the South right now, but still, you're under the sun at training camp. You've done it for 10 days. The pads have come on, and you're looking for that oasis in the desert, which is the first preseason game. So I think at that point, and that's next Saturday against the Chiefs at Levi Stadium, we're going to have another important data point on so many position groups in this 49ers roster, especially the running backs. When you talk about evaluation at practice, especially at a 49ers practice with the new NFL rules, or not the new NFL rules, the modern day NFL rules that have been around for quite a while, live tackling is extremely curtailed. This is not your training camp of the 1994 49ers where everybody was tackling fully live to the ground, even when they weren't supposed to, and it was causing fights because Gary Plummer would hit Jerry Rice too hard, and all this and all that was happening. Training camps are regulated nowadays, so the big issue comes in evaluating running backs because a massive portion of a running back's job is breaking tackles and getting contact yardage after contact. It's really hard to evaluate how well a running back does that, especially when you have three new guys, a couple rookies and Trey Sermon and Elijah Mitchell and a new free agent, Wayne Gallman. It's hard to evaluate how they, push piles forward when you don't have live tackling in practice. So Kyle Shanahan really values the preseason, especially for running backs. 49ers didn't have it last year either. So a guy like Josh Hokett, fullback, made 6 catches the other day while Kyle Juszczyk was getting a veteran day off. He's going to have a chance to deliver in his first game action after spending all of 2020 on the practice squad. So don't pay attention to the score on Saturday. That doesn't matter. It's a preseason game, but pay attention to the running backs especially. I don't know what the 49ers plan at quarterback will be. I know that they were meeting today to hash out what they're going to do. In the past, we had 4 preseason games. This time, I don't think we're going to have 4. I think we're going to have 3. So I know that we're going to have 3. And in that case, I don't know if the 49ers are just going to lop off preseason game number 4, which used to just be the chance for the really fringe of the roster guys to make a last statement. I don't know if they're just going to keep the old preseason plan and eliminate that final game, or if they're going to go with something else. But in the past, we had always seen a situation in which the 49ers went easy with the first team in game 1, which meant a series or 2 at the most, built it up in game 2, and then ran their dress rehearsal for a whole half in game 3. If the 49ers follow the same script, this Saturday against Kansas City will feature only a series or two at most from the first team. A chance that the first team doesn't play at all. And then more action for the second team, which would be something that I think makes a lot of you happy. You'll be able to see a lot of Trey Lance on Saturday, and then we wouldn't see more of everybody else, your frontline guys, until later in preseason. Following that pattern, the game against the Raiders on August 29th at Levi Stadium, that would be your dress rehearsal. And I think a lot of 49ers and Raiders fans would appreciate that if both the 49ers and the Raiders went at it after each other for a half. So you could at least have something to talk about in the preseason. But again, I'm not sure. I don't know what the plans are. We'll know more on Tuesday. That's August 10th. And we'll go from there. I again want to thank some of you who waited so patiently for an hour. I was trying to get the Twitter set up, and then I decided to go to dinner in Redwood City at the conference room in one of my friend's apartment buildings. So I have a little room here, nice and soundproof. Hopefully the audio is okay. And we went to Vesta for dinner. I think it is in the running. Vesta, downtown Redwood City, is in the running to be one of the best restaurants in the Bay Area. I've thought this for a long, long time, years and years and years. It's a little small plates restaurant, Italian small plates and pizza, and they have creative pizza. It's so good. So I'm nice and full now because I swam at 6 a.m. this morning. So it's been a long day talking to the assistant coaches and doing that. But come to Vesta in Redwood City if you're ever in the Bay Area. Very conveniently located halfway between San Francisco and San Jose. And I highly recommend it. Luke. Yeah, I did get my lap swims in. Swam a good, God, I don't even know how many yards I did this morning, but did some sprint work, some hypoxic work, got the lungs working a little bit this morning, and that was at 6, really early on, but it was a good workout today. Really set the table to make the rest of the day very nice. And then it's always, when you're in the dog days of camp, you relish the days off, and today was supposed to be a day off, but I didn't care that it didn't end up being a day off because I love talking to the assistant coaches. Next question. When do the 49ers practice against the Chargers? That happens not this week. This week is game prep for Kansas City, more training camp, but next week. So, God, already next week we'll be heading down to LA. Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, we'll be heading down that way. And I guess we're going past LA. The Chargers training facility is actually in Costa Mesa, which is right by Irvine, Newport Beach. So they're right next to the Rams, who do their training camp in Irvine at UC Irvine, and the Rams during the season move up to Thousand Oaks. So the Rams and the Chargers are right next to each other, and I think the Rams might be hosting the Raiders at around the same time that the 49ers are there playing the Chargers, and the Raiders and the 49ers will meet up at Levi's the week after. So it could be interesting times down in Southern California. I definitely think that's the next big inflection point after this preseason game. I can't Nick both fully active for team drills by that point. Obviously, everybody wants to watch Trey Lance. Everybody wants to see Jimmy Garoppolo. They want to see Justin Herbert from the Chargers. Should be a really active, open practice session. You always try to schedule a team that's not on your schedule from a different conference, just so you don't accidentally play them in the playoffs. So the earliest the 49ers would meet up with the Chargers, besides the preseason game this year, would be the Super Bowl. I'm sure the 49ers wouldn't mind a repeat of Super Bowl 29, but you try to find a team that will allow you to practice well, that's competitive, that has some exciting schematic things going on there. And, I think that the Chargers are a good example of that, and the 49ers didn't have to go far either to find a team that they're not playing this year that can offer them those sorts of challenges. This is a question from Terrence. What are some of the things I'll be watching for in this first preseason game? What I just said, I think the running backs are going to be the players that have their most evaluation shine during the preseason, just because of the reasons I mentioned earlier. Today, I talked to Bobby Turner, longtime running backs coach under the Shanahan, started with Mike Shanahan in 1995. We had such a great discussion about his history as a coach. One of his early jobs after he coached at Indiana State, Bobby Turner actually coached 6 years at Fresno State under Jim Sweeney. So those of you who follow me, who from near my hometown of Visalia and the Central Valley, legendary running backs coach Bobby Turner, right? I mean, a huge outside zone running backs guy, worked with Davis and Mike Shanahan in Denver, 2 Super Bowl rings there, and now is with Kyle Shanahan with the 49ers. coaching career, cut a lot of his teeth at Fresno State in the 1980s, right after Jeff Tedford, former Cal coach, and former Fresno State coach now, was the quarterback there. And I mean, it's just so cool to hear about how he came up. And then in 1995, Bobby Turner did not even know Mike Shanahan, but Mike Shanahan was scouring the football world for running backs coaches because he had just left the 49ers for the Denver Broncos. Remember, it was Mike Shanahan who drew it up for Steve Young to throw 8 touchdown passes in Super Bowl 29, and he was really mad when George Seifert yanked Steve Young after he had thrown only 6. Well, that performance earned Mike Shanahan the Denver job. He needed a running backs coach, went through a lot of his football connections, and the guy that kept on getting recommended throughout the whole process was Bobby Turner. And Bobby would be with Mike Shanahan for 13 years in Denver. And now we fast forward to today, where he's the 49ers running backs coach, and Bobby's really excited for Saturday because on Saturday he's going to get to see his new guys. He's going to get to see Wayne Gallman, veteran free agent from the New York Giants. He's going to get to see Trey Sermon, 3rd-round pick out of Ohio State. And he's going to get to see Elijah Mitchell, 6th-round pick out of Louisiana, in game action for the first time. Now, obviously, there is NFL film on Wayne Gallman. There's not NFL film on Sermon and Mitchell. But Turner is really excited right now because of a couple of reasons. The first one is the common link that connects all 3 of these players, and that is that they always pushed the huddle or the pile forward in their previous game film. So whether it be Gallman at the New York Giants, whether it be Sermon at Ohio State, or whether it be Mitchell at Louisiana, these guys are all pile movers, even though they weren't, big, bell cows. They weren't 220 plus pounds. They have good burst. I mean, we've talked about Trey Sermon's burst, even though the 40 time isn't great. We've talked about Elijah Mitchell's 4.3 40 at his pro day. We've talked about Wayne Gallman, I think, has decent burst, but not a great 40 time either. We've talked about all these, attributes of these running backs that all come within the context of them not being these big, bulky guys that are, the old school 220 plus pound size. Yet, if you watch the tape, they all pushed the pile forward. Wayne Gallman against Seattle last year, that was an awesome performance. What was it, like 160, 170 yards? Just tore up the Seahawks on the road in a game that Colt McCoy actually won for the New York Giants on the road. I'm sure 49ers fans enjoyed that. And, he just pushed the pile. Trey Sermon pushed guys backwards. Elijah Mitchell, he runs like a grown man. And it's interesting to see because the 49ers are definitely working on having that nasty in the run game this year. They're trying to get bigger on the offensive line. They're trying to get more physical in the run game. And Bobby Turner said, the reason these 3 guys are here is because of the way they move the pile. We wanted to add that component of the rushing attack into what we run here with the 49ers. And he's going to finally get to see the ability of these players to break tackles and push the pile forward in a game during this preseason contest on Saturday. Speaking of all this, we talked about all this on the podcast, which came out today. So I actually would like to share the podcast link and everything with you guys. So I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second. We're going to share a window over here and get this up there. Okay, this is on Twitter. I don't want to share a video of myself. It'd be like Inception here, but I think, yeah, this is it right here. There you go. Yeah, that is Inception. That's picture in picture. We don't want that. I want to scroll down a little bit. I'm sharing the wrong screen. I think that's the problem. Still an amateur at this, guys. Still an amateur. Oh, I'm sharing this one. There we go. Cool. Now we're down. Yeah, I didn't want that picture in picture there of me fumbling around looking for what to do. Here's the podcast. So Apple and Spotify, it's Matt Barrows and me talking for nearly an hour about this kind of stuff, hitting some different topics than I will in this video. And probably a good idea to copy the link and put it in the comments section here. That works. And you can go check it out. So I know a lot of you have been talking about the Here's the Catch podcast. There's the link at the bottom. You can get it from the chat section right now. Everybody's been asking about it. We took a little bit of the off season off, but Matt and I are now back. Dennis Brown's going to join us on that podcast shortly. Matt and I have been out at camp though, so we just really chopped it up there for a while, and hopefully you enjoy the episode. And we also wrote a piece together today talking to the assistant coaches. So here's the piece. I'll make it a little bit bigger once again. That should shrink me. There you go. Trey Lance's leap, Deebo Samuel's bulk, Aaron Banks' progress, the 49ers assistant coaches weigh in. So you can get the word from all the assistant coaches at once. And we still have a lot of more good information coming after this. But the link for this one, co-written by Matt and me, is right there. It's shared and it's at the bottom of your screen. So that's on The Athletic. Go check it out. I'll make it big screen for you, a little bit bigger right there. You can see the first couple of graphs. But it is some good insider information from the 49ers assistant coaches. So we hope that you enjoy all of that. Anyway, I want to open it up to some questions. I mean, on days off, I kind of just like to freewheel these. I know it's the first one on Twitter. This is kind of being simulcast with my YouTube, so I'm not sure if Twitter users come through on StreamYard. Now, this is all new to me, so I'll figure it out as it goes. But I'll just make myself big there and answer some of your questions. Yeah, so this is a good question from Christopher Hewitt. If the 49ers see Jimmy Garoppolo get hurt this season, yeah, the 49ers would be stuck with the entire cap hit, just like you would be with anybody that gets hurt in the season. If they don't come back, you can't just cut them when they're hurt. These waivers with injury designations, that means that, we saw it with Tim Harris, the cornerback, the other day. 49ers waived him, but since he was hurt with a groin injury, they had to waive him with an injury designation, which lets the rest of the league know that Tim Harris is hurt when they have a chance to claim him from waivers. Nobody claimed him. So since nobody claimed him, the 49ers can't just get rid of him. He reverts to the 49ers injured reserve list. So the 49ers were hoping nobody would claim him because they wanted to keep him on IR, but that's the rule with rookies. If you waive, or people on rookie contracts, if you waive them, if you want to put them on IR, especially early right now in the season, before IR is an official thing, then you need to waive them first, expose them to other teams, and hope that nobody picks them up. That's how the 49ers lost DJ Reed, because they felt they needed that roster spot. They couldn't carry along an injured player, so they waived DJ Reed with an injury designation. The Seahawks picked him up, and he got healthier way quicker than the 49ers thought he would. Miscalculation on the 49ers' part was one of the many things that went horribly wrong for them in 2020. Yeah, I mean, I recommend our own podcast, and I do recommend the TK show as well. It's really fun when TK comes on our podcast. We're able to get everybody on one. And, Dennis Brown is great. Dennis Brown played for the 49ers in 1990 to 1996, right in that 90s glory period for the 49ers. Saw Super Bowl, obviously. Well, if he was there in 90, yeah. So he was there the year after the Super Bowl. He was there the year they were trying to go for the three-peat. Didn't work out. They lost to the Giants, but he saw Super Bowl to end the 1994 season. Saw, the first of those couple losses to the Packers, and saw the big games against the Cowboys. So Dennis is a great podcast co-host. I love what TK's putting out there, and it's sure a lot of fun to chop it up with Matt. This is a good question. Luke Walsh. Aaron Banks, is he coming along on schedule? Not expecting a rookie to step in, mainly just wondering what a realistic learning curve is relative to expectations. That's a great question. It's a smart question. It's one that, we need to pause and consider how long this process might take, because everybody says, oh, second round pick, he should start right away. And, it's going to change from player to player. It's going to be a different kind of situation from player to player. I think Aaron Banks is still a realistic candidate to start in week one. I talked to Chris Forrester, the 49ers offensive line coach, about that today, and he said it's absolutely still on the table, but it's not, any kind of certainty. And as of today, Daniel Brunskill has that first team job. Now, the 49ers do plan to rotate Aaron Banks in to some first team action at some point. I would expect that to be this week. I think they would want to get it in before the first preseason game, before they head to LA for those practices. So we'll keep our eyes out on number 65, and I should say big number 65. I mean, he's still checking in at 330 pounds. I mean, the complete opposite type of player than Daniel Brunskill, right? Who's an ex-tight end converted in college at San Diego State. And he's a guy who's smaller than average at right guard, but has found a way to leverage his quickness and his relative lack of size for the position. I think the 49ers want to upgrade in size. They want to get better and anchor down pass protection. I think they would love if Aaron Banks grabbed that role. But, I mean, he still has to learn the playbook. He still has to get used to anchoring at an NFL level versus just the college level where he was good at Notre Dame. But it's a whole new beast when you start working against Aaron Donald and those guys here in the league. So the 49ers want to bring Aaron Banks along at a reasonable schedule that satisfies both their need at right guard and also what Aaron Banks needs in terms of time to develop. And the benefit that the 49ers have is they really, really trust Daniel Brunskill. Some might say it's a jack of all trades, master of none situation, but it's fine. They just need that jack of that right guard trade for now. They just can't have a disaster at right guard. I think the issue potentially comes in if and when, because, you can knock on wood all you want, but guys are going to get hurt in the NFL. It's very rare that 5 starting offensive linemen make it through a whole season. So the issue comes when somebody gets hurt. That's when you really want Daniel Brunskill to be a player that can come in and plug in at any position for you. He's already started at 4 different offensive line positions. He was the ultimate utility offensive lineman in 2019. So you don't want to pigeonhole him, in my opinion, at right guard later in the season when injuries are much likelier to have taken a toll on the offensive line, which is where I see the value of Aaron Banks. He unlocks Brunskill. He unlocks several different possibilities along the offensive line. You know who we should talk about while we're talking about Aaron Banks is Jalen Moore. 49ers drafted Jalen Moore in the 5th round of the 2021 draft. And initially they said that this guy was going to play guard. And they left the door open for him to compete at tackle. But there was an issue because they thought that he might be a little too small for tackle. He's 6'4". But, God, this guy is strong. NFL body already. And Jalen Moore has impressed the 49ers so much that they're just now seeing him as a tackle. They don't see him as a guard anymore. They're just seeing him as a tackle. No player has gotten more second-team snaps at left tackle this training camp than Jalen Moore, which suggests to me that he is the front runner for the swing tackle position ahead of even a guy like Sean Coleman, who people ask about a lot. The issue with Sean Coleman is that, God, he hasn't played organized football since – I mean, has he played since I took the job at the Athletic? I don't know. I think the last time he played in a regular season game at the NFL level was like 2017. So you don't know what Sean Coleman has left, how much rust there is. And I think Jalen Moore has shown up ready to play. He has impressed the 49ers enough to take that tackle spot. He's working at tackle. And I think that the 49ers really are working on Colton McKivitz to be their guard depth. He's done some right guard time as well for the 49ers, even depth for Laken Tomlinson, a left guard, even though Laken Tomlinson has been so versatile. And, another reason for Daniel Brunskill to have more positional flexibility, which is a benefit of Aaron Banks potentially winning right guard at some point this season, is that Daniel Brunskill's Alex Mack's back up at center. So you can't carry too many offensive linemen because of roster limits in the NFL. So it's really, Aaron Banks would unlock so many different valuable things roster-wise for the 49ers as far as the permutations of the offensive line if he won that right guard spot. So I think that's important for the 49ers. But talking to Chris Forrester, it's, he's competing, but they don't need it to happen in week 1. I think they need it to happen before any injuries occur, though. And I hate to assume injuries. I hate to build them into a season forecast. I'm kind of against that. I'll never predict an injury to a specific player, but in general, I always say, this is my mantra every year and in a year, you need at least 7 quality offensive linemen to truly compete for a Super Bowl. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so the 49ers, I think, have 5 quality guys across the starting front. I think Brunskill, if Banks becomes one of the top 5, then they have 6 because Brunskill's a quality guy, especially as a rover. And then you got to find number 7. And will number 7 be Colton McKivitz? I think the 49ers certainly hope so. But it might be Jalen Moore, who has looked good so far in camp. And I think, looks better than Colton McKivitz did at this time last year. Maybe they'll have 8 quality offensive linemen. They'd be really, really happy about that. So I promised I'd do kind of an offensive line talk a few days ago, and that was it. Does Josh Rosen make the first roster cut? I am not sure. God, Kyle Shanahan just roasted Josh Rosen the other day. I have to go and find this. This is from my article the other day. It was not pretty. I'll put it up on the screen. I mean, Kyle Shanahan is really, really good at protecting players in the media, but when he wants to roast somebody, he roasts somebody. He doesn't really hold back in those situations. So here we go. I'm gonna scroll down and find the spot. So I'm not showing all the piece. This is from the piece yesterday with Arden Key. I'm gonna highlight it and zoom in and then get this up on the screen for you guys. There you go. Read this. I set up the quote. Shanahan's assessment of Rosen after practice was not good. Quote, I think he started off real well, Shanahan said. Quote, I think he's taken a couple of steps back over the last few practices. Ouch. You know, it was unfortunate on that interception that Rosen threw in practice on Sunday. We were supposed to go to someone and we had a busted route. So then it kind of fell apart. And Rosen tried to overcompensate and make a bad situation worse. And that was the end of the quote. I mean, Shanahan said nothing else. So let me just put this in the context of a coach that generally protects his players. He's not protecting Josh Rosen there. He's saying he's regressed through training camp, bad. And then he's following up with talking about how he made a bad situation worse. That's double bad, triple bad, whichever way you want to put it. So the first roster cut goes from 90 to 85. They're doing it 85, 80, 53 this year. I don't know how Shanahan does it. My biggest question is, do the 49ers carry only 2 quarterbacks on the final 53-man roster? Because listen, the 49ers are in a situation where they're cramped in that projected 53-man roster. Anybody who's seen my projection that we put up on Google Sheets knows that you have to mix and match certain things. And, you know, I could even open it right here for you guys. I think this is a good thing to put up there just to go through it. I just like this visually to be there. And I'll share the screen again. So here you go. This is the 49ers 53-man roster. The left side of the line, for those who are unfamiliar, is who I predict will make it, right? The right side is guys that are on the bubble or won't make it. So there's 53 players under the gold columns, and it counts. So we're at exactly 53. So right now, I don't have Rosen on there anymore, but I have Sudfeld as the third quarterback to make the team. So you go Garoppolo, Lance, Sudfeld, right? You got those 3. And then you have your running backs, you have your receivers. Right now, for example, I have Juwan Jennings right there, highlighted on the outside, looking in. So Juwan Jennings not making the football team right now. Uh-oh. I mean, I'm not saying this is final. I'm just illustrating. I have them carrying only 8 offensive linemen. So that's, you know, as little as you can take. I have them carrying 10 defensive linemen. So I have a player like Contavious Street, who's been having a good camp on the outside looking in. 5 linebackers, because I really think they want Marcel Harris to make it there. And then you have these defensive backs. You know, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 corners and 4 safeties. That's all fairly standard. And 3 specialists. But you do have a player like Tony Jefferson on the outside looking in. Jonas Griffith, who's had a decent camp on the outside looking in. This is all to say that the 49ers might really enjoy having at least 1 extra roster spot. And guess how you open up 1 extra roster spot? You eliminate one of the quarterbacks. So you take Nate Sudfeld out of that. So let me just erase him for now. That makes it, you know, should say 52 down here. Yep, 52. And you carry only 2. I better put Nate back on there because I'm not sure if that's my projection yet. Would this be new for Kyle Shanahan? No, this would not be new for Kyle Shanahan. This would be the same thing that he did in 2017, his first year with the 49ers, when he took only Brian Hoyer and CJ Beathard on the 53-man roster. You could have Mohamed Sanu be your emergency quarterback if you only take Garoppolo and Lance in 2021, and it might open up a roster spot for somebody else, for a Contavious Street, for a Juwan Jennings, for another offensive lineman if Sean Coleman really shows up in these preseason games. You name who the 49ers might want to take a spot very possibly can open up for them if they only carry 2 quarterbacks like Shanahan did in 2017. Sudfeld's contract has guaranteed money, but it's only enough for the practice squad. So Sudfeld can easily go on the practice squad. I'm not really sure another team would be rushing to pick up Nate Sudfeld. So that to me is going to be an interesting roster decision for the 49ers. Yeah, DJ Jones could be the third quarterback. That's a good one. That was funny. Yes, so Sudfeld is eligible for the practice squad. In fact, Sudfeld has a $252,000 guarantee. And before I say something stupid in terms of math, I'm going to get out my calculator. So $252,000 divided by 17 weeks in the season. Actually, there's 18 weeks in the season now, aren't there? Yeah. 252,000 divided by 18 equals $14,000. That's the guarantee that Sudfeld has per week. $14,000 happens to be the practice squad salary for veterans in the NFL. So the fact that the 49ers gave Nate Sudfeld a $252,000 guarantee is no coincidence. It means they said when they signed him, you will at least be on our practice squad. We'll guarantee you that amount of money or we'll pay you out. And he doesn't have to clear through waivers to make it to the practice squad. So, yes, Sudfeld, I think, is firmly beating Rosen out for that third quarterback spot. But no, we don't know if the 49ers plan to have that third quarterback spot on the 53-man roster or if they plan to have it on the practice squad. They need the third guy for practice, scout team stuff and all that, but we just don't know how that's going to work. In case of COVID, the QB contingency, the third guy would be Sudfeld, but I would think they would bring a guy in that's been with the system. So if nobody picks up Josh Rosen and the 49ers find themselves in a pinch and Josh Rosen's sitting on the couch, you might call him to come back in during the regular season if they cut him. Mullins and Beathard are both with teams right now. Always have to watch what happens at cut down day because, maybe somebody you could keep somebody at that time. You say keep Jennings over Hurd. Yes, possibly. I just don't know how that's going to go yet. So if you look at the roster, I could easily swap Jalen Hurd for Jawan Jennings right there. These are the two players that I'm talking about in the highlighted area. It's totally possible. I could do it, but I'm not going to do it yet. Why do it too soon? We'll just wait. We'll wait to see what happens during the preseason. I think it's big for both Hurd and Jennings. One of the points I made on the podcast, here's the catch, which you should absolutely listen to. I put the link up there earlier, is that the 49ers they should be thrilled, and you can knock on wood, you can do whatever, but they should be thrilled that both D Ford and Jalen Hurd are back at practice. It wasn't a certain thing. It's still a house money situation. It's still not guaranteed they're going to be ready for week one, but I think the injury vibe is way better than it was not only in 2020, but than it was in OTAs. So knock on whatever wood you could find. Nobody likes injuries, but the 49ers, I think, are in much better position or with a much better vibe than they were at this time last year when the sky was orange, when everybody started to get hurt, or even in OTAs when they did have those injuries to Tarvarius Moore and Justin School. Yeah, I think you should absolutely be concerned about Jaquiski Tart. A turf toe ended Patrick Willis's career. It's one of those injuries that's gnarly. You read about it. It's not simple. It's one of those that just kind of stays and lingers. And obviously Tarts is lingering. You should be excited, though, about Tavon Wilson. Veteran safety, spent time with the Patriots, with the Colts. This guy can play. He's come in and he's picked up the system. He's already mentoring the young guys, and he says this is a new free agent, so it's not like he's swimming in a new playbook. This is a vet's vet. I've been really impressed with Tavon Wilson. The chemistry with Jimmy Ward has been good. That's been a good find for the 49ers, but they really do want Jaquiski Tart healthy. Even if he doesn't start, even if Tavon Wilson has, distanced himself in that job here over the first 10 days, you want that depth at safety. You don't want to force Talanoa Hufanga into a huge situation too early on, even though Talanoa, they've been impressed with him. So for the rookies, for Talanoa, for Ambry Thomas, for Diomedor Lenore, those guys in the secondary, it's about adding some strength. It's about getting a little bit bigger, getting stronger, being ready for that NFL competition. You put them through an NFL strength and conditioning program for several months and even a few weeks, and it gets better. than it was in college. I mean, these guys are getting older. They're still young. They're still moldable. It's the reason why the 49ers signed all those vets to one-year deals like Tavon Wilson, like Jaquiski Tart. Jimmy Ward still has 2 years left. They signed Jason Verrett. They have Emmanuel Mosley on a new 2-year deal. K'Wan Williams is on a 1-year deal. You have it because those guys are looking good. They're healthy, but they're 30. They're not young. But you have it so they can hold down the fort until Ambry Thomas and those players get a little bit stronger. I mean, Hurd being the next Pettis, 2 very different players, right? I mean, Hurd has actually shown some physicality out on the field. I don't think Pettis ever did that. It's the injury situation right now with Jalen Hurd. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, it might be a bust, but Pettis wasn't due to injuries. Pettis was due to the fact he wasn't physical enough on the field. I thought DJ Jones broke out against the Seahawks in 2019, but that was a breakout game, breakout play. Made some really nice plays throughout that year, but you're right. I don't know if he's broken out as a year yet. I don't know if he's had a breakout year because of injuries. Again, like you think about Super Bowl 54, and you can't help but think that if the 49ers had either DJ Jones or Weston Richburg, they win that football game. I think that's just an objective way of looking at it. I mean, they were inches away for that thing not unraveling, right? I mean, it was very close, and I think that anything that would have tipped the scale a little bit more in the 49ers' favor probably puts that game in the win column for them. So you had losses on the interior of both trenches for the 49ers that really killed them. I mean, there's a reason Kyle Shanahan went out, paid Alex Mack this offseason. Center has been a problem, a revolving door for the 49ers. And DJ Jones is the only true one tech that the 49ers have. He could play that nose tackle position, athletic enough to be a 3 technique, is a really valuable piece, but he had a high ankle sprain in week 14 against the Saints, which ended up being a costly game for the 49ers because they lost Richburg in that game too. So that big win of the Saints, 48-46 at the Superdome, came with a heavy price, and it was the losses of Weston Richburg, who was having a nice year, and DJ Jones, who was having a nice year. And those 2 losses ended up really haunting the 49ers down the stretch. It's too bad. Part of the sport, right? Part of the sport. I think Brandon Aiyuk is going to have a lot of all-purpose yards. I hate fantasy football, but I know a lot of you love it. Brandon Aiyuk is, and look, we have John Lynch talking on there. I'm going to turn this off right now. Brandon Aiyuk is heavier than last year, maybe 5 to 10 pounds stronger. I think he's more insulated to field punts this season. I think he's more insulated for even a higher snap count. I think he's more insulated to really handle that top wide receiver role. And while Aiyuk has added weight, Deebo Samuel has lost weight, and both of those things needed to happen for the 49ers. They're calling him Skinny Deebo in the facility. He's coming in shape. It was nothing like last offseason when he broke his foot in Nashville. Couldn't work out. That kind of had a domino effect, hurt everything else. Deebo is in great shape now. He's focused. He wanted to run more deep passes, which he's done because he's a little bit faster. He's ready to be more than just a short yardage bulldozer of a wide receiver. And Jimmy Garoppolo hit him on that beautiful 45-yarder that turned into an 80-yarder or whatever it was the other day, just down the sideline, hit him in stride, and Deebo was off to the races. I think we see some of that this season from Deebo Samuel. We should see some of it from Brandon Aiyuk. So 49ers' top 2 receivers are looking nice. Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel have done what they needed to do with their bodies over the offseason. My concern for the 49ers would be the 3 spot. Is Mohamed Sanu really a guy you can rely on at this age for the whole season? Or will Jalen Hurd step up, or Jawan Jennings step up? I mean, there's potential amongst like 3 or 4 guys, but I'm not sure, who does it. At the 4, Trent Sherfield, look out for him. Special teams ace. He's going to start on all 4 special teams units. Guy is way stronger than I thought he was. Didn't put on any muscle since Arizona. That's something I thought had happened, but I guess didn't. But God, he's muscled up. I mean, he's going to be able to block in the run game. I mean, that's something that, is a liability when Richie James is on the field. I think Richie James probably still makes the team. I'm not sure, though. It's one I'm iffy on just because the 49ers need returners. So a lot of people think Travis Benjamin will make it over Richie James. Maybe that happens. at one of those 49ers receiving spots. But, that's why it's tough with Jennings and Jalen Hurd. None of those guys have return capabilities, obviously. And Aiyuk wants to win the job, but the 49ers probably want more insulation. So does that mean that Richie James gets a courtesy nod on the 53, or Travis Benjamin, who has, return experience, has scored touchdowns in the return game before, does he take that spot? But one guy that's making the team is Trent Sherfield. Look out for him. You're going to look up at some point this season, those of you who aren't watching right now. So you're going to have friends that look up and they're like, who's number 81? That's not T.O. He's way smaller. And it's going to be Trent Sherfield. And he's going to make some big catches out of that 4 receiver spot. He did for Arizona, but not many. I think he's going to be a little bit more involved in the offense here. Craycraft. Yeah, and there's the practice squad. I don't know. The practice squad question, give me some time. I'm tired right now. I'm doing my best. We'll get to that. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I don't know who they're going to keep on the – I don't even know who they're going to keep on the 53. I give you guys my best prediction in the 53-man roster projection. I worked the salary cap. Have to deal with the Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo situation. Got to do all that. I am not sure how the practice squad is going to shake out. Maybe Sudfeld. That's the one guy I could maybe predict. That's only if they take 2 quarterbacks, though. They can't take 3 for that to happen. No, I don't think that Kevin White is one of the 49ers' top 6 receivers. All right, if anybody has a pressing question, then we'll go. Somebody's mad I skipped their question. Sorry, I can't answer every single question. I'm tired, man. Okay. Since you asked twice, here you go. I didn't skip it. I'm just going from question to question. Do you think Kinlaw will have a breakout year next to Bosa? I think Nick Bosa makes people a lot better. I think it's very possible. I think Kinlaw looks even bigger. I thought it was overblown to all the praise he got the other day because the offensive lineman didn't have pads on. So, if there's a guy you need to protect yourself against, it's Javon Kinlaw. He is a statue in a big way, not in an immobile way. He can move too, but he is just a monolith out there. And the poor offensive lineman didn't even have pads. So he physically looks the part. He seems to be having more fun this year because I think things aren't moving as fast for him. All rookies are going to go through a stretch where they're a little bit overwhelmed. I think for Trey Lance, for example, it came a little bit in OTAs, but he quickly got over it. Trey Lance looks great now. I think Kinlaw could have a really good year. That's the best I can answer that question. So apologies for skipping over you earlier. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. It is now time for me to call it a night. I have to go get home and rest because I'm going to go swimming again tomorrow morning. So this is great. This was the first time it was simulcast on Twitter, and I hope that some of you enjoyed that. I'm not sure, if I can answer questions through Twitter directly. I'll take a look at it in a little bit to see if questions pop in through there. But I'm happy that it came on to Twitter. I'm happy that more and more of you are watching these, and we'll have another one coming up soon. But I think 43 minutes is a good spot to end. So everybody, tonight, 3 more practice tomorrow, preseason game against Kansas City on Saturday. Thank you, everybody. Make sure to sign up for The Athletic. Take care. Have a good night.